Hello, sunshine. Welcome to Be Visible with Veronica, the podcast where bold conversations and soul-aligned strategy help you awaken your most powerful self. I'm your host, Veronica Bond. Get ready to stop dimming your light, own your magic, and finally be so visible you can't be ignored. Let's get visible. Hello, sunshine. Welcome back to Be Visible with Veronica. If you had the opportunity to listen to Susie Pruden last week, oh my gosh, I think that is an episode you will listen to over and over again. And if you missed it, go back, because her story of how she went from 10 toddlers and 10 students in 10 classes to 70 in 3 days, and all about her name, Susie Pruden, and her mom and the legacy she built. It's quite a story. You're going to want to take a listen. But today, if you want to hear about overcoming addiction, what it's like to create a new identity and break down the constructs of generational patterns, you're going to want to listen to this cutting-edge conversation with Shannan Kym, all the way from Alberta, Canada. Shannan, welcome to the studio.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. This is an absolute honor and a pleasure, so thank you.
You bet. We are thrilled to have you here. I'm thrilled to have you here. We're thrilled as the listening audience because you identified something early on that you were going through that you knew needed to be changed.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to explore today why cutting edge. How did you recognize you were in an addictive pattern? How did you come through that? And now the transformation, not only that you have made, I have watched you tour and share your story across the country since I met you a few months ago. And now you're in Arizona. You just got back from Charlotte, North Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
You are impacting the world as you're out there, sharing your story of perseverance, of what it's like to go from the depths of despair to pulling yourself up, and also understanding that you couldn't do it alone. And it's such a beautiful, unique story to share with the world. And I'm so glad that you're here today to talk about it, because you now help others do the same. Share a little bit about Cutting Edge and how you got to where you are today.
I would have to say that the pivotal moment for me was when I did have my awakening on August 17th of 2019. And that was the day I actually woke up and I felt this huge shift within me. And that was when I asked myself this question, which I'm sure a lot of people do ask themselves this question, but they don't go in depth like I actually did, and that was the key. I asked myself the question, how in the hell did I get here? And I took that question so serious, Veronica, because I was like, I have this beautiful home. I've got beautiful children. I've got on the outside world what everybody sees to be an absolute perfect life. But the truth is I was living in hell. Because I had to come to the realization that I was in a marriage where there was no love. I had been continuing this facade for so long. I was a people pleaser. I was a chameleon. Like, I was literally doing everything for everybody else. And I had suppressed my feelings and emotions of my upbringing and my childhood, my abuse, like all of it for so long. And I was to the point where I was suicidal again. And it was like I just couldn't do it anymore. So that's why that question was so important to me. And I know that God led me to that question, because I would not be here to this day. And once I did ask myself that question, I came to the realization of my why. Everybody has to have a why of the direction of their going, because there has to be that driving force. And that was when I was, Shannan, why do you want to go forward? And it really was, I wanted to be a good mother. I wanted to be somebody that my children would be so proud of.
How old were they at the time,
At
Shannan?
the time, so that was August 17th of 2019. Right now, I presently have my children. I've got 3 daughters, and then I've got my son as the youngest. So my son their birthdays are coming up here soon, so they'll be 17. My son will be 17, my youngest daughter will be 18, and then my second oldest is 22, and then 27. So
This is 7 years ago.
yeah. So, they were the 2 younger ones. Well, they were. What grade would they have been in? Time just flies by so quickly.
Doesn't it,
But they were still in grade school.
Okay.
And then my
So
daughter was at the point.
Were you at home when you asked her? Was it at night?
Yeah.
Had you
No.
woken up
No.
in
I
the-
can remember waking up that morning, and it's so vivid with me, Veronica, because when I woke up that morning, I felt different, and I'll be honest with everybody in the audience, and I would wake up every single morning at 6:30, and I would start drinking wine, and then by 9 a.m. in the morning, I would usually have drank in a bottle by then, and lots of times, not every single day, but every chance I could get, because I was trying to suppress all of my feelings and emotions, it would get to the point where I would drink, and I'm not kidding you. A lot of people don't understand this. I could easily drink up to 6 bottles of wine a day.
A day.
A day. 6
So
bottles of wine a
Did you try
day.
to hide it from your kids and your husband, or did they see you, or
Well,
were you
see, another
being
thing-
sneaky? Like what?
See, another
how-
thing too
Share that.
is I actually made my own wine.
Okay.
Yeah, I started making wine probably about 8 years prior to that, and I actually how I got making wine was with my ex-husband's parents, because they made wine, and that was how me and my father-in-law used to bond. We would make wine, and he taught me how to do it, and I just really enjoyed spending time with
So
my
it wasn't
ex-father-in-law.
unusual for
it
wine
wasn't.
bottles to be around.
No,
the ingredient-
always. And so each kit when you make wine is 28 bottles. You could stretch it to 29 bottles. But I always had a flask being made. Always. And nobody in the household really paid attention to how many flasks were being made, because lots of times I would make 2. I would gift a lot of
So
wine.
you were a functioning alcoholic.
I was a high functioning alcoholic,
Wow.
right? But then it got to the point, after the realization of, with my husband and the businesses, I was always put in the background. So with my ex-husband, it was always him, the businesses, his family, the children, and me.
So you were shape-shifting to make all of your compartments that you were doing in your life work.
Absolutely. And I always kept on saying to myself, well, when this business is built, he's going to have time for me. When this business, another business would be built, then he would have time to me. I would always make all of these different excuses. And then we made a huge move from one province in Saskatchewan to actually Alberta, and because he wanted to expand the business. And then this way we would be away from my family, his family. We could actually build a life together just as our little family, which I did. I craved and I yearned for, because it was never just me and him. He was very much had his family a part of our marriage. So I was thinking, for the first time ever, oh my goodness, we are actually going to be a family.
Wow.
But that's not how it worked at all. No, and then that was when the realization really kicked in. I was like, I'm never going to have a place in this marriage ever.
So you woke up, you had a why, which was for your children.
Yes.
Which made you take the next step.
Which made me take the next step. And at that time, too, Veronica, I didn't really know what my next step was, but all I knew was my whys, and I knew that I had to quit drinking. And ever since then, I have not touched a drop of wine ever again.
You did it yourself.
I did it cold
turkey.
Well, no, I'm not
Okay.
going to say that.
Okay.
I'm not going to say that, because 2 years prior to that, I had and that was when I was like, I was drinking a lot then too. then. And that was when my earth angel friend Janet actually came to come visit me. And that was when I was having really bad suicidal thoughts and that. And she's a psychiatric nurse. And she knows me better than I knew myself, right? Because she works with addiction and mental illness. So she actually just popped in one day driving through the city because she was on her way back to her house, and she lives about 3 hours away, and she phoned me up and she was like, Shannan, she goes, I want to pop in and have a visit with you. And I'm like, oh, great. At the same time, I was excited to see her, but Veronica, at the same time, I didn't want to see her because then I had to be sober for at least 24 hours, and I didn't know how to do that. So she came and she visited me, and I am not kidding you, within just a couple hours, she read me like a book. And she looked at me and she said to me, Shannan, she goes, there's something going on here. And she goes, are you going to kill yourself? And I looked at her, and I did. I surrendered to her totally and completely, and I told her everything that was going on in my life. And then she said, okay. She goes, you know what, we got to get you in a treatment center. And then she had talked to my ex-husband then, and she goes, I don't know if you realize what's going on here, which he did. He did know everything that was going on.
So this is 2 years prior to
that
2019?
That was 2 years prior to 2019.
And so fast forward to 2019, and you were still feeling...
Well, I went to treatment center like two years prior. I was at treatment center, and then I came out, and then I quit drinking totally and completely. And then August 17th of 2019 was when I was like, I was done totally and completely altogether. So it took me, 2 years again to go through that, because I quit drinking for a year after the treatment center, and then I ended up relapsing, right? And then I went downhill again, and then...
So how did you then get additional support and help, Shannan?
I'm going to be honest with you. I had absolutely no support from my family, no support from my husband because he's an ex-husband, because he's a narcissist. I had no support from his family. I had no support from nobody. And I'm telling you when I say that, there was not one person that supported me. So what ended up happening was I really focused on looking for some... I did try AA, but I didn't like AA. Because when you stand up, you have to, and share your story or talk, you have to say that you're an alcoholic. And that was one thing that once I quit drinking, I was not going to identify as an alcoholic anymore. I was going to make sure that that was a part of my past. So I believe I only went to AA for probably about 5 meetings maybe, and I just couldn't do it anymore because I just felt so heavy, just energetically heavy. And then I was like, no, this is not for me. And, people always, I do believe that a lot of people, which is great, AA does help many people out there, and good for them, but that just was not me. You have to find your own community, right? So that was when I just really started concentrating on the things that I don't like about myself. So I really started to work out again. I set healthy boundaries. I didn't hang out with people that drank alcohol or anything anymore. And I really started to read a lot.
Helping you in that space, or you were all on your own, like your friend who you called your earth angel? Was she somebody you could turn to?
Her and I, we talked quite a bit.
Okay.
You know what I mean? But I really had to go inwards as well, too. And I had done a lot of personal development mindset prior because I'd been studying Dr. Wayne Dyer, Louise Hay, Deepak Chopra, all of them, like probably at least 25 years, right? But the one thing that I forgot is when you really have to go into mindset and personal development is when you're at the lowest times of your life. And I didn't do that. If I would have shifted back to that, then things I think would have probably been...
Well, you had a lot of hats you were wearing. So
I did. I was wearing a lot of hats. I was, right?
So fast forward 6 months, a year. It's now 2020, August. How are things coming along for you at that point?
At that point in time, things are coming along great. We're in the middle of COVID, right? COVID is happening. And the biggest gift for me, I would have to say, would probably be COVID, because I came into a lot of realizations then that your stillness is absolutely one of the most important gifts that the universe can possibly give you. And I started to really look around at my colleagues, or my friends, and that was when domestic abuse and addiction was on the rise, because people were now in their stillness. What happens when you're in your stillness? All these triggers start to happen. People are dealing with all the outside problems. People's financials are going down and everything. So addiction and everything is rising. You're hearing it all over the news, social media, wherever, right? And I can remember all of us are homeschooling. And I would see people, friends of mine, that would put videos on social media, and they'd be like, "Oh, is it too early to be drinking wine while you're homeschooling?" And I was mortified, Veronica, because they're having their children actually pour their wine into the wine glass, and it's a video that they just posted, and it's like 10:30, 11 in the morning.
Wow.
And I was beyond disgusted, because I knew that they were now creating another generation of addiction, and they were creating addictions in their households, and they're thinking that it's funny. Right? And I was like, you have no idea what you're getting into. So with me being with COVID and sitting in my stillness, it gave me a lot of time to really reflect on my whole entire life. And then once I could actually do that, I was like, wow, I could see why I had gotten to where I was at that point in time in my life. So I really, really went inwards, and I really did a self-discovery, basically blueprint, genetic blueprint on myself and why my family was the way that they were, just starting to have the forgiveness for my abusive childhood, just all of it was starting to come really to the forefront. And then it was shortly after that was when I decided that I was going to write a book.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the book you wrote is called?
My first book that I wrote is called How in the Hell Did I Get Here?
Which is what you asked yourself in 2019.
Yeah, because that was such that statement was such a huge impact on my life, and it really did change me, and it did get me on my path.
And I'm sure there's many people who are listening to this podcast or watching the TV show thinking the same thing, and maybe not ready to ask themselves that question. And because you just shared it, you just gave them permission. And I appreciate that. In 2019, I also laid flat on my back or found myself in an awakening space. I had gone on a journey for 2 years prior to that, but I had ruptured my Achilles playing tennis, and I remember thinking, how am I going to move a business forward? I just hired a business coach when I'm laying flat on my back, and it ended up being the best 7 weeks because it caused me to get still. It caused me to be quiet. And really reflect on, who am I? What do I want to do in my life? We had just moved into our dream home. I had a beautiful marriage, still do at 37 years. And so I was second guessing, why am I feeling this way? Why am I feeling unfulfilled? Why am I feeling, and not really, not personally, just professionally. I knew there was more to me and more to give, but I didn't know what that looked like. It sounds like you found yourself on a path. Did you see the lights were lighting up for you as you were willing to walk that way every time you were following divine spirit, God calling you forward, and you kept walking? Were you surprised by the lights that kept lighting up for you, or was it more challenging than that?
I would have to say, when I first intuitively was told to go into my stillness, that's what actually gave me the gift to allow myself to start my healing process.
Okay.
And that was where I started to write my book. And I would go in my rocking chair every Sunday, and I would start to write my book. And when I wrote my book, the reason I wanted to write my book, I didn't even think about the healing process of me. I didn't realize that till way after the fact, right? All I could say to myself was, if I can just help one person, that's all I want to do. I just want to help one person. And literally, it was like my book was being channeled out of me. It only took me 3 months to write my first book.
Wow.
And then, so once I was done writing my book, then I could literally hear this voice inside me, and it was saying, Shannan, it's time for you to be still. Put your book down. You're done it. And I don't want you to look at this book for at least a couple months. So that was June. And I was like, okay, so what does stillness actually really, really mean? But I knew then that I was supposed to just be quiet. I was to let other people around me really reveal who they were. So I literally sat back and I watched how people were talking to me, how they were relating to me, how they were treating me.
Wow.
Like all of that, right? You
became very present in the stillness.
Yes, I really did. I didn't talk like I normally did. I stopped people pleasing. I started to say no. And that, like literally, Veronica, I would just sit back and I would just be in a room with family members or whatever. And I didn't conduct myself like I normally did. Like I would always be the first one to get up and prepare dinner and stuff like that when it was family functions. I would be the first one up to clean the tables. And that was an expectation. That ended up being an expectation after all those years, right? But no, this time I just kind of sat back. And I wanted to see what everybody else's reaction would actually be in the new person that I was becoming.
So fast forward into launching Cutting Edge Transformation. What year was that?
Well, that was kind of a process because when I decided that I initially really wanted to coach was probably about 2 years ago.
Okay.
And that was when I had created my coaching programs. And with everything else, you have to develop the coaching programs. And like I've got 3 programs, and all of them are all based from all my experiences. Mm-hmm. So once I got the coaching programs, and then of course, then you have to build the website and all of that. So I had all of that going really good. I had a podcast called Fulfillment in Faith at that time as well too. But then what I really wanted was I really wanted to get on stage. And that's where things have totally changed for me now, getting on that stage and sharing my story, because I'm so relatable and I'm so vulnerable. And I truly believe that when, like with me, I'm real. And I have gone through so many different things in my life. And I'm not afraid to share it. And women want to hear that. They want to hear that they're not the only one, and they want to hear somebody on stage that they can relate to.
And as you've done that and shared those stories, how's the relationship with your children? Are they supportive?
Yeah. Because
I think there's women here listening thinking, I can't say that or share that because I have children, it'll affect them. And I think sometimes it empowers them because they see it and they don't realize they're seeing it. Mm-hmm. So share that a little bit. Mm-hmm.
With my 4 children, I would have to say that probably the most that it really impacted in a negative way, I can honestly say I did emotionally damage all of my children in some way, but because my oldest daughter had seen me actually physically go through the addiction and everything else, I would have to say that it really impacted her a lot. But like I said, all of my children have been impacted in some way or another. But now that they see where I was to who I am right now they're looking at me like they're very, very proud of me.
They should be.
They're very, very proud of me. But at the same time, like my oldest one, of course there was built up resentment and all of that, right? Because my mothering to my younger children compared to her was totally different. I parented my oldest daughter the way that I was parented. So I could see where there was so many wrongs, but I didn't know that either.
And then this is where the pattern interrupt in your story comes along.
Absolutely, right? So, but now, my kids, I'm starting to bring them traveling with me, and they're getting to meet all my colleagues and all of that too. So, I'm the type of person, there are no limits and limits. There's no lack. We don't live in scarcity at all anymore. I've just opened up a totally different, beautiful world for my children. They know that I'm the number one supporter for them. If anything, I'm the one that's like pushing it. I'm like, you got to go for it. Or they'll say, I'm scared. And I'm like, oh, that's great. That means that you really have to do, I am their biggest cheering squad ever, and I'm just excited, now where I'm going in life. It's just opening up their world so much bigger and better, and opportunities for all of us, right?
I love that for you, Shannan. The first time you were invited on stage to share your story, what was that like for you?
I'm going to be honest with you. I actually did a TEDx talk, and that was when I really started to crack the book open on my addiction. And when I got on that red dot, and I did it in Las Vegas, when I got on that red dot, I truly felt, Veronica, like I was home. Wow. I belonged there, and I knew that I belonged there. And when I got on that red dot and I seen all the people, and I was just so full of light, so full of energy, like it was like I'm home. And I actually said that to myself in my mind, I am home. And then when I was done my TEDx talk, there was not a dry eye in the house. Even the men were crying, and I got a standing ovation.
Oh,
And when I
Shannan.
got off, when I walked off the stage, and my coach, Daryl, was standing there, and he goes, Shannan, he goes, I knew you would be good, but he goes, I had no idea you would be this good. And I was like, Daryl, I'm home. It was amazing.
Is that on YouTube where anybody
Yeah,
could
it's
go?
on YouTube. Yeah,
And
yeah,
do you
yeah.
remember when it was?
That was January 27th of 2024.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's on YouTube, and if you go onto my Instagram, I've got it pinned right there,
Okay.
or on any of my socials, it's pinned right there. Yeah.
And we'll put that in the show notes, but how do people find you on Instagram?
Shannan Kym. Just remember how to spell my name right.
It's A-N at the end.
Yeah, SHANNAN, and then Kim
Okay.
is KYM.
So you're a transformational coach. You support men and women in their transformation, or do you focus more
I focus
on
mainly
women?
on women,
Okay.
from ages 40 to 60. But I do have a gentleman that I am coaching right now too, and I am leaving it to anybody that. If they resonate with me, I would never, ever, ever say no just because you're a man. No, because we're all here to serve. And yeah, like if a man approaches me and says, I really, really, because as we change our identity, it's all the same.
So you write book one.
I wrote book
How
one.
the hell did I get here?
Yeah.
Book two comes along, and it's called?
Find the Answers Within You. 10 Pathways to Your Self-Discovery. And the reason that I wrote that one was because so many people had said to me, Shannan, how did you get from where you were to where you are now? Because I don't even look the same at all. Like, I'm totally different. I've transformed in every area of my life.
Wow.
And I actually couldn't tell them then at that point in time. But then I came to the realization that I was going through the stages of the 10 pathways. I was actually in the process of embodying every single aspect.
As you were writing it.
I hadn't wrote it yet. Oh. Yeah, I hadn't wrote it yet. And then it was after I had embodied all of these 10 pathways when I was like, now I get it. Okay. So that was why I ended up writing the second book.
So I had a thought and I just lost it. That's what happens when you're live on a podcast. We'll come back to that. Now you've written your 10 pathways. You're coaching. You're on stages. You did a TEDx. Did you go further than the Las Vegas piece? Did you take that story and evolve it? What's that keynote look like for you now? What are you talking about when you go on stages as you're traveling all over the country?
So what I do in my keynotes is I first talk about my journey, and then I get into the teaching points of identity, because as you can tell through my journey, I've gone through so many different identities, and especially with women, with being married and our children, and next thing you know, we're empty nesters. We as women truly forget our identities throughout the year, right? Years, because we are natural caregivers and we're nurturers. And then so I talk about how, in order to become that greater version of yourself, you have to create that identity. But the first thing you need to do is you got to create what is it that you truly want within your life.
So what would be your greatest pro tip for that young mother that's listening who's an entrepreneur right now? If you could go back and give your younger self some advice, what would you want to offer her today?
I would have to say, don't ever lose who you truly are. If you have got your dreams, never put them on the back burner. You can always balance your life to accommodate what your dreams truly are. And the most beautiful thing about that is, as you're creating your dreams, you're also showing all the beautiful people around you that really love you, that are in alignment with you, that you can do it, and you can all rise together, whether it be in friendship or relationships or whatever.
Do you believe in sharing that dream, writing it down, doing both, telling people what your biggest version of yourself is, even if it changes?
Well, you have to step into that version of who you want to be right this moment. Right? You have to live it, breathe it, talk it, walk it in order for it to create. And that's also what I teach in my teaching points. That's why I absolutely love identity.
So when you first wrote How the Hell Did I Get Here, and you said, even if it only changes one life, do you ever look at that story and say, I was the one life it was meant to change?
Good question. Actually, you just saying that was like, wow. It wasn't until years later where I realized that it was actually a healing process for me too. And that took me a long time to get to that realization because I was so focused on wanting, I just wanted to help that one person. But yes,
I mean, I'm listening to you
Yeah.
and watching you and hearing how you've transformed and how you're not the same person now as you were then. And you had the courage because you had this deep why of moving yourself forward. And it was those 4 little ones who weren't so little at the time. And now they're young adults and or teenagers, older teenagers. And I'm listening to that story and listening to you tell it, and I'm thinking to myself, you're the life. Look at what you did, Shannan. You changed your life, and because you changed your life, you are now impacting the world. You've created a ripple effect.
Yes, I
Wow.
definitely have. Yeah.
You've sharpened that sword every time. That's why I love the cutting edge, because it's that constant sharpening of a sword.
And the
that
reason
refiner's fire that you keep walking through, that you're willing to hold somebody's hand and walk them through it too.
And that was the biggest reason why I picked, the name Cutting Edge Transformation is because when I was on my journey, I didn't do things like everybody else does. Like, my why was so strong, and I was willing to do whatever it took to keep my sobriety and to save my children from the generational disaster that had been happening on both sides of the family, right? And that's why, the name Cutting Edge, it's a very impactful business name, right? Because I did what everybody else couldn't do. And now I'm giving women out there the hope that you
To
can
do
do
it
it no matter
themselves.
what.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I love that for
Yeah.
you.
Thank you.
Shannan, there are no words at the moment for me to express the gratitude that I have for you on this show today. What you were willing to share, everything that you've gone through, how you were able to get into the hyperspeed through what takes some generations.
Yes.
You were able to do it in such a short amount of time. And I think that goes back to the very beginning where you shared, I had an awakening.
Yeah.
And that awakening and that the power of you saying yes to you is what allowed you to hit the hyperdrive.
Yeah. And
Seriously.
Yeah, and I did.
Get here.
I really did. I did quantum leap. Seriously, what I've done now in these few amount of years is what people don't even do in a lifetime.
You're right.
And that was because I was so focused. But another thing too, Veronica, is I made split decisions because I know myself so well, and it's like I just instinctively know, yes, I got to do this. I never let fear ever stop me. And that's the biggest thing because I'm going through a transition right now. I can feel it within my body. I'm going to a higher level of vibration. I can feel it. And you know what I'm talking about when you're in alignment to go into the next stages. And I can actually feel it. I've really been feeling it within the last couple of days. And I'm getting a little bit antsy. I'm getting a little bit nervous.
Here it goes. Here it
Yeah,
goes.
but it's
I'm with
like,
you.
okay,
I feel
it's like okay, you know what?
Wow.
I'm actually getting chills right now.
Oh my gosh,
because
me
I'm like, you know what? I'm ready to go. I am a little scared.
But that's always okay.
But I know where I'm going. But it's just like, okay, I'm leveling up now. Now I'm going into another different identity. See, that's what people need to understand is you just don't keep one identity.
No.
You have to be ready to go into that next
have to be
identity.
willing
And
to
I'm really
evolve.
starting to feel it, and I'm starting to vibrate and stuff like that. And it's
I
just
love
like,
it.
no, I'm ready to go. Hold on, man, because
on.
there's something more magnificent coming. But every time I level up, I'm also leveling up the people around me, which is so
Yes.
beautiful. And I'm bringing more people into the network, and I'm
yes.
walking into more doors and opportunities and whatever, right? And it's just so
The
exciting,
power of being
the
known.
power. But also, I'm also leveling up my children. You know what I mean? And it's such a beautiful thing.
Isn't it
it's
great?
Just, I can't wait to see them in 10 years. I'm like...
I have a little grandbaby, and it's amazing as you are evolving and everyone is watching you, how they embrace it too. And it's so fun. And I'm so honored that you came on Be Visible with Veronica and shared your story.
Thank you.
What city are you speaking at next? Or what do you have coming up? And then we'll put everything in the show notes for people who can get in touch with you or comment on the show and let others, I know that you'll answer their questions. And so please just connect with Shannan. But tell us some of your cities where you're
now
going to
we're
be.
getting into summer right now, so things are slowing down just a little bit. So I am going to be doing some visits at eWomen Networking and that, and I can't wait to meet more women. My next event is going to be at the Scottsdale Chamber.
Okay.
So I'm going to be speaking there on August 13th. So buy a ticket. I would love to meet you. It's going to be absolutely amazing. I'm going to be the keynote speaker there. And then I've got my live event here, which I am so excited about, which is going to be October 1st to 3rd in Scottsdale, Arizona. You can look on my website. All the information is there. And it is the Women's Empowerment and Transformational Conference. And what I love about this conference is during those 3 days, you are actually going to start your shift. I'm going to be teaching you and doing workshops. There's going to be other amazing guests there as well, speakers as well during that time. But I'm actually going to be taking you through a process of a workshop. So you're not only going to know what you want, you're going to know your why. You're going to know your why. You're going to create the identity to step into it as if the wish is already fulfilled, and you're going to be starting to take those action steps. So you're going to start to feel the shift and the transformation.
Wow.
And then as you leave, when you leave after the 3 days, you're going to be on your journey.
And people can find this on your website.
Yeah, you can go onto my
also
website.
Put it in the show notes
Absolutely,
for you.
yes. And I'm so excited for everybody because it's going to be absolutely amazing.
Well,
and
I
I've got
think
beautiful
everyone
gifts
should
and everything
block
for
it on
everybody.
their calendar right now. I know that date was October what?
October 1st to 3rd
Okay.
in Scottsdale, Arizona.
Well, you heard her. October 1st through 3rd in Scottsdale, Arizona. Find yourself in that room. If you need more details, people are already registering for it. I know this to be true. Connect with Shannan. See how she can support you and help you as you go through your cutting-edge transformation. Thank you for joining us today on Be Visible with Veronica. Shannan, thank you so much.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure. Bye for now. Thanks for tuning in to Be Visible with Veronica. If today's episode sparked something in you, share it, tag me, and pass it on. Your presence has power, and the world is better when you let it be seen. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and keep showing up as the unstoppable force you were born to be. I'll see you next time.